In this problem, we're looking at part B, which asks what are the lower and upper class limits of the first and second classes. So in order to figure this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the difference between the class midpoints or class marks for those two classes. So we have 650 for class 1 and 701 for class 2. So off to the side, I'm going to say that means that the class width equals 701 minus 650, and that would be 51. So what this means is that when we look at our classes, so we have classes and we have our frequency, then when we go from whatever the first class limit is to the upper class limit, so the lower class limit for class 1 to the upper class limit for class 1, and then lower class limit for class 2 to the upper class limit for class 2, that the separation between lower class limits is going to be 51. So it's not the difference between these two values, it's the difference between, let me do this, between these two values. Okay, so what we see here on our graph is we have our class boundaries marked here. And that's not what we're looking for. So we want the lower and upper class limits. So this is 51. And what I can do, let's see if this works, is I'm kind of shifting this over. So I'm not going all the way to the edge because this is the difference between class boundaries, 51, but we really want the difference between, like a little scoochy above there, from the first class's lower class limit to the second class's lower class limit. So how do we figure this out? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the class width, which is 51, and subtract 1 from that. So that means that we have 50. That's going to be the difference between our lower class limit and our upper class limit for each class. So if 50 is the difference, I take 50 divided by 2, and that gives me 25. So the lower class limit for class 1 is going to be 650 minus 25, and that gives me 625. And that's what we have here. 25 above 650, so 650 plus 25, gives me 675. And that's my upper class limit for class 1. Now to find the lower class limit for the second class, I would add 51 to the lower class limit from the first class because that's the difference between those two values. That's the class width. So 625 plus 51 is 676. Now what I could have also done would have been easier, just take the 675 and add 1 to it because we know we're going to go up 1 to go to the lower class limit of the next class. So either way that works. So we've got this, and now I can add 51 here, plus 51, and 675 plus 51 gives me the 726. And you could keep doing that through the rest of the frequency distribution to find all of the lower and upper class limits. And that's how you do that problem.